Welcome to the Seriously Social podcast with your host, Simone Douglas. This episode features an interview with entrepreneur Tim Scott.
So, welcome to this episode of the Seriously Social podcast. Today I am joined by Tim Scott from Edison Digital. So Tim, maybe if we just start with your Cliff Note version of your backstory.
Yep.
How did you end up on the red chairs today?
The red chairs. Well, I met you through through one of our business interests with BNI. But the background to joining BNI and having the marketing company and things like that was I was in franchising with the Gyms Group, and so I owned some master franchise rights in dog wash, and also had an interest in a blinds company. And recently sold those companies, and in the last year I've started a marketing company. I joined a networking group to try and build that referral base, and here we are.
Cool. And as much as you're probably tired of people asking this question, and age shouldn't really come into it, how old are you right now?
I'm 23, but I'm 24 next week. So,
24 next week. So
and then everything will be different.
24 and on business number 3 for your career so far. So I think it just goes to show that realistically you can have whatever you want if you're prepared to do the work and go out and do things.
Take a punt.
Yeah. So can you maybe just start off, give me what the decision-making process looked like for you when you first bought a master franchise? Because it's not a small investment as a general rule.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I think I really wanted to own a business. I wanted to work for myself. I haven't really I've never had a full-time job. And so I was doing some contracting work in the space. And then we had the opportunity came up to purchase a region. So a region the master franchise rights means that we can sell franchises and we manage the franchisees and things like that. And I, to be honest with you, didn't put too much thought into it other than this seems like a good opportunity. I went and got a loan out at 27%.
Ouch.
Because when you're 19 or 20 and you've got no assets and you're like, can I have, tens of thousands of dollars for a business? They're like, yeah, sure, but it's gonna cost you.
Yeah.
But, I would rather, I was sort of prepared for it to go well or terrible, and luckily it went better than not. So there wasn't too much. The opportunity came up and I moved on it pretty quickly.
Do you think that that's a key success factor for most business owners? Like, certainly for myself, my whole business life has looked like that. An opportunity presented itself. You weigh up the risks a little bit, but really, if it looks like fun and you know you're going to enjoy it, off you go.
Yeah,
so
you're on. I think so. I don't think adding time to a decision necessarily makes it a better decision. I don't think some things you don't need to. Some people are scared of making a decision, so they prolong it and they wait and they wait and they wait and they think that's being prudent. But I don't think it necessarily adds. Sometimes it's important. I've always had people to speak to, so I've never had to make big decisions by myself. I've always made sure I've got, people that I pay for advice, people that know me as a person, friends and trusted friends that can say, I think you're a bit off here, things like that. And so I think if you're running it by people that know more than you and have more experience and they're not having any massive red flags, they might not quite see the vision of it the way you do, but if they're not, you're looking to gauge if you're missing any things. I think just go for it. Obviously, it's easier to say that when you've got, I don't have dependents or anything like that. So but I think a lot of people miss opportunities because they wait too long to make the decision.
I would absolutely agree with that. I was having this conversation with my financial advisor, who also happens to be my best friend these days, thankfully. But we were talking about, what stops people taking the leap? What stops them? And he's like, mortgages, debt, all of these things. And I'm like, none of that would have stopped me. Having kids doesn't stop me. In fact, it almost places more importance, internally for me anyway, on building that business empire to demonstrate to them that they can do whatever they want to do, provided they're prepared to work hard. And I think, definitely the biggest thing that I see in business is with some people, not all people, and mostly not people in my life, thankfully, but that culture of excuse where they're just like, they're busy and they're always busy in their business and they never have enough time and there's no joy in it for them.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you talk to them, the excuse is, oh, you know, you don't understand, I have to work hands-on in my business.
Or in my industry it's different, or oh, I just can't find good people, or nah, you know, if you want a job done well, you've got to do it yourself. You know, we heard all of this all the time in franchising, you know, different, you want to catch yourself if you're making excuses to not step up to the plate.
Yeah.
I think that's, you know, because we all do it, right? You know, everyone just has different thresholds of, you know, some people, everything is too hard, but everyone has a moment where they're like, you know, they'll delay something, and you sort of want to catch yourself and say, hang on, am I just, you know, am I playing at 100% here, or am I, you know, looking for a reason why not to rather than why to do it?
Tamara, my general manager, and I, we use the term, as Brian Tracy term, but about eating the frog. And so, you know, I will always say to her, what's the frog you're not eating? And she'll say the same thing to me, because it's the thing that I'm avoiding doing the most. It's usually going to make the most amount of impact to the business. So it's the first thing that I do every day. Whatever that thing is that I'm avoiding doing. This morning it was writing up the whiteboard that lives behind my desk with like all of the businesses and everything I want to achieve for the following like 90 days. Because that roadmap stuff is really important. But now that you're in the digital marketing field and you've got your own marketing agency, what has been the most, I suppose, interesting learning curve for you watching your clients navigate the current environment, and as we're headed into, or if we're not already in a recession, depending who you talk to?
I think there's sort of guys that are buckling down, ready for it, stepping up to the plate. I think, you know, looking to improve as leaders. I think I think a climate like this is really going to expose the leadership of the company. You know, and when I talk about leadership of the company, I mean, you know, are you serving your employees? Are you serious about, you know, getting through this? Have you coasted on the fact that it's been quite a good market in most industries for a long period of time? So I think it's exciting when you see when you speak to someone who is sort of gearing up for it, you know, ready to get their hands dirty and ready to sort of get through this thing. Because I think, you know, the businesses that say, or the business owners that approach it with, we can't get out of this. And the business owners that approach it with, we're definitely going to get out of this. They're both going to be right.
Absolutely.
And so I think it's, definitely, and that's interesting in and of itself, because it sort of is a reminder that actually what you say about what's happening is more important than what actually is happening. And the way you approach it, it's sort of, you know, the circumstances can be whatever they want, but one person can describe it as if it's the worst thing in the world, and for them it probably will be the worst thing in the world. Another person can describe it as an opportunity, and it probably will be an opportunity. So I think, whether they're in marketing and growing the business and things like that, a lot of it does ride and fall on, you know, the leadership and the willingness to sort of take a punt and get in on it, I think.
Do you think that there's an opportunity now? So, you know, one of the conversations I've had with a lot of our clients is, now you need to be more human. You know, like, now I need to really know who you are, the business owner, who are the families that you feed.
Be a community person. You know, communities are built by community owners and business owners, and it's, I think there's been a lot of businesses have grown a little bit and felt this need to present as if they're a much more bigger business than they are. And so, you know, what they lose is that local community element. Like, it's a bit rougher around the edges because I'm a real person in a real business who's, you know, got a family that I'm managing, and, you know, things like that. Whereas we love that. I think it's been really cool to see on the back of, you know, this, whatever you want to call it, is that people are trusting community backing a lot more pubs are starting to stock local, you know, local ingredients and sourcing local product. And that's a great thing, you know, because at the end of the day, at the top end of the economy, those businesses can't have as much impact in your local council area, in your local community as, you know, if you put half a dozen committed business owners together in each council who said, you know what, we are just going to help build this community. Like, you would have a big groundswell, I think, and local sporting clubs and things like that. So
no, I'd agree with that, because it's a massive, like, we've done that with the Duke of Brunswick. So, you know, I've just done anything that I've always wanted to do in a pub.
Yeah.
I've just done it.
Nice.
And when I used to work for ALH Group a long time ago, it was all about the numbers. You know, like what are your sales? What's your bottom line EBIT? What's your labour tracking? Whereas now it's what's the weirdest, quirkiest thing we can do to make people comfortable?
Yeah.
You know, and so, I know, let's train all of the staff in conversational Auslan so that we can be a deaf-friendly venue. Like,
So cool.
you know, let's... I'm working on now becoming a veteran-friendly venue so that you know, staff have training in how to work with assistance dogs and all of those kinds of things. But it's, you know, when I launched the B&I chapter out at Gawler, which we're in the middle of working towards now, that's the same thing. It's that groundswell, like you said, of committed business owners working together to grow the local economy and help each other.
Yeah, totally. I think that's the answer to a lot of the community problems. I think you can't rely on the government or things like that. I think it's local leaders and local community businesses that impact their local world. And if everyone just thought, how can I make sure the people in my world, how am I supporting them and positioning them to support others and things like that. I think that's a big impact. I hope to see sort of more of that, rather than sort of, I think there was this gap where people would, if it got too big, they would want it to be this, problem that they weren't really responsible for, or couldn't make an impact in. But I think the local is huge.
Do you think that there's a lot of lip service when it comes to that? In terms of, so sometimes when I'm having conversations with other business owners, they'll be like, oh yeah, I know that person, I'll hook you up or whatever, and then nothing ever comes of it. Whereas I'm really big on, if someone asks for some help with something or needs a connection for something, doesn't matter what it is, if they've asked for a specific introduction and I vaguely know that person, I will send that person an email asking for permission to make the introduction. It's a 5-second job, you know, but so that's what I mean by lip service.
I think there is. I think it's tough because I think you don't want to be too hard on the well-meaning people that just miss it. But I definitely think people have motives on stuff. I think if it's well-meaning, it's important to do that. I think it's important to follow through. I think it's really important to follow through. I think for me, if I think of the people that I trust the most, not a performance thing, but a trust thing, it's people that are,
do what they said they'd do.
With the little stuff, the stuff that doesn't make sense. Like, one thing that, I want to, I'm always sort of looking at where I've dropped the ball at is if I say, oh yeah, I'll flick you an email with some information, that is so important to get done.
Yes.
Because people, even if they didn't ask for the information, even if they didn't, then it's not really going to, it's not a massive thing
but
for them.
Said you'd
if
send
you
it.
do it, it will say a lot to them about the way you operate, things like that.
I have. So, and I did a post on LinkedIn about it the other day. What are the deal breakers in business relationships for you? And, I think I personally have 5. So, that big one is consistently late to meetings. And bearing in mind that for me, late is 5 minutes, not 15.
Yeah.
So, because I'm always 10 minutes early to everything.
Yeah.
So if people are consistently late, in the back of my head, I'm like, well, how are you going to be with my clients or with my connections? So it's a respect thing. And then I've got, if you're at the top of my list, if you return my calls same business day. Now, sometimes you're not going to be able to do that. So it's not a deal breaker, but you get 2 business days to return the call. Yeah. And then once you on the other side of that, I'm like, not so sure that I can't rely on you. Yeah. Because I can't communicate with you. So I'm a bit the same with email. So phone and email. But the big one, and the one that went off the charts in the poll on LinkedIn, was promising and not delivering. Yeah. So, and little promises, like you said.
It's the little ones, because it's the ones that catch people off guard. When you do it, they're pleasantly surprised. Yeah. Wow, this person really, if they say it, they're going to do it. I saw a video about how they, when they're talking about Navy SEALs and things like that, and what do they look for. And, if you get to SEAL training, they look at it in a graph where, your x-axis is performance, your y-axis is trust. Yeah. And they're like, look, performance gets you so far, but not when it really matters. And so if you look in an organisation in terms of the people that your other, staff and colleagues and people involved in your world want to be around, it's not the high performance, low trust people. Yeah. High performance, low trust is they're not friendly in the in the world of, you know, whatever they're involved in. But high trust and medium performance, or even sometimes high trust and low performance, is actually, most people would value that more than someone who's you know, big on, you know, whatever it is they're doing, things like that, but they can't be trusted.
Yeah.
I think, and so, you know, I think that's a good metric to look at is you know, even if you're looking at your team, who are the performance, but also who are the ones that you trust, like who are the ones that, you know, they're responding in a way that's beneficial to the company in, you know, times like, you know, where we're in at the moment.
Yeah.
I think that trust thing is,
I think trust
really
is massive. And I think too, I'm a really literal human being, which sometimes works for me and sometimes works against me. So, you know, some of the things that I notice, you know, I will never say something unless I mean it. Mm-hmm. Because I'm very careful about what comes out of my mouth.
Yeah.
The problem with that is I assume everybody else works the same way.
Yeah.
So other people will tell me, like you said, oh, yep, I'll flick you that information, or yep, I'll get that done for you on this day. If you told me you were going to get it done on that day, best you stay back 6 hours if that's what you need to do. Do you know what I mean? Because you gave me a timeline. The minute you give me a timeline, you're in trouble. The minute you tell me that you're going to do something for me by whenever.
Yeah.
But by the same token, I am that person who will stay back for 6 hours because I said you'll have it close of business tomorrow. And I know the only way that I'm going to get that done is if I work till 10 o'clock tonight to get it done. Yeah. So I would rather put myself in discomfort for a matter of principle and be a person of my word than not. I think there are lots of business owners, successful ones out there that are the same. But how do you think, or how do we work with the ones that are not?
I think being clear about your expectations.
Yeah.
I think if you've got a conversation with someone and say, you know, I don't want to make a big deal out of this, but I've noticed that there's a pattern. Yeah. And to me, to be honest, that makes me feel like I'm not sure whether, you know, I'm not sure of the longevity of our
working
ability to work together, you know, like, because for me, I might just be, you know, super high strung about this, but for me, I just want to let you know this is a big deal to me, or this is something that's important to me, because there are some people where it's not going to be important to them. Yeah. And so I think you can't hold someone to a standard you don't communicate to them, even if you think it's
reasonable. Yeah.
If you're like, I don't understand why this needs to be explained, but please don't be half an hour late to every single meeting. Yeah. So I think the best thing you can do is give them the chance to say, you know, hey, for me and dealing with me, this is an expectation, or these are the standards, and you can hold me to these, and
that's reasonable.
Because I don't think no one likes, you know, take being late for example. No one likes being late. Yeah. That's why they always come in and frantically apologise. Yeah. And they're thinking of how they can explain. No one likes it, right? Yeah. So if you can be someone who actually draws the line and pushes them to not be late, they'll be more pleased with themselves because they've become someone that they like a little bit more.
Oh, that makes sense, you know? Actually. So I think that's a really good section to end on in terms of just to recap. So, and it's something that hadn't occurred to me, is like, proactively communicate your standards when you're building business relationships with people or with your staff. And don't be afraid to be honest about what your expectations are. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Tim, for joining us today.
Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Seriously Social podcast. See our website for more details at www.socialmedia.aok.com.au/podcast. Check the show notes for credits, music used in the program, and more details about our guests.